This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks. I have the pleasure of having Cate Luzio with me, the founder of Luminary, a couple blocks away from us here in Nomad. Cate, welcome to Halo Talks.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, like me, you have a finance background. For our audience, why don't we just first go through where you're from and you know, you're a New Yorker at heart, and but you've traveled around more than the average banker. So why don't you give your little background to start?
Sure. Very quickly, grew up in New Jersey. My father was an FBI agent, so we were pretty much based here. Spent a lot of time in the city. I went to school down at University of Maryland, then did my master's at Georgetown. In between, spent some time in China, working in the tech industry. And when I got out of grad school, was recruited by a bank. I didn't have a finance background when I started. They wanted someone with global experience, so outside of the U.S., spoke another language, and a hard worker. And honestly, that was a great intro for me. I thought I would do it for a couple of years, get the training and get the credit underwriting training. And I ended up, 17 years later, staying in the finance industry. I started with Bank of America. One of their predecessors, which was, one of their acquisitions, actually, MBNA, and was shortly green-lighted a project that I was working on, moved to Mexico City, was down there for a couple of years, took on a broader Latin American role. Bank of America bought us, and then stayed there till 2008. JP Morgan recruited me, and I spent the next 7 years in London in corporate investment banking, and then HSBC recruited me and wanted me to do a global job. We negotiated so I could be in New York and come back to see my family, and ran that for the last 3.5 years before I decided to write a business plan to find Luminary.
Got it. That's great. So we work in a colo here, and a place called Blender, and we've looked at WeWork, and we've also seen all the business plans on the Wing and High Court and several others. So what gave you the I guess the gut and the path and the passion to say, you know what, there are other groups out there that are, serving this space, but they're maybe not serving it the way you think it should be curated?
Yeah, so honestly, it was, we're so much more than a co-working space. I consider that one of our amenities. When I looked around in my 20 plus years corporate experience, we as women, I think, are the ones that are raising our hands quite a bit around how much more can I learn? How much more can I expand my role? But at the same time, we're always the ones that aren't asking for help. We feel intimidated to do that. But we're always asking for coffees. Let's have a coffee so I can get career advice. Let's have a coffee. And so sort of this, as I started to think about what's my next career, I was like, how do women want to help each other? And not that men don't either, but women really want to help each other. And how do they do it in a bigger and broader way while also learning themselves? So creating a space where women could invest in themselves, but also invest in others, get content and programming, and then have more of a home away from home with the ability to co-work, with the ability to take a workout class because we have a fitness studio, the ability to get a blowout, right? And then at the same time, feeling like you're part of a community of women, but with not excluding men, right? So we're female focused for women as far as members, but we don't want to exclude men from the space. I spent 20 years working with men, and they are a huge reason why I was successful. So we need to continue to bring them into the conversation so that women can continue to grow in their jobs and accelerate their careers, but empower one another. And that's what I saw a lack of in the broader co-working space. We're really trying to develop an inclusive and diverse community where all women feel welcome. We purposely didn't do an application process. We want women of all walks of life, of all backgrounds, and diversity of thought to enter this space and really create value for one another.
So what was the catalyst from being in finance and running around the world? Also, starting several women's and girls initiatives to say, okay, look, I'm gonna hang that up and I'm gonna do what I feel my passion and my calling is.
It was not an easy decision, right? As I feel a pretty successful banker, and you get used to the power and the money. And I was traveling 3 weeks a month, but I had a conversation with a mentor, a male mentor, in fact. And he sort of said, and he's amazing, right? Actually, all of my mentors have been men.
Right.
And he encouraged me and said, listen, you're young enough where you can go out and do something totally different, something that you're passionate about. You do all of this wonderful stuff for women and your clients. So bridge that. And I had no idea what he was talking about, but I trusted him. And after a lot of soul searching, I sort of said, fine, I'm going to try this. And what's the worst that can happen? I can go back to banking. You don't lose your skills.
Back to banking.
2 months later, after that, I was sort of, what am I doing? But all of these women that I was meeting were like, how can I help? I love this. You're taking like a huge risk. And in that moment, I realized there was a better way to sort of support women and really put my money where my mouth was. All these years of saying we want to empower women and help women accelerate in their careers and in their development. Why don't we actually do something about it versus just standing on a platform, raising our hand and saying, I support women. Let's do it. And so I created this business plan in March and we launched in November.
Wow. That's a pretty fast time to market. So did you write the business plan? Did you start looking at locations? Did you have a vision? That you could. I'm a whiteboarder, so I don't know if you're like do you whiteboard everything out and say, okay, this is what I want it to look like? Did you wake up from a dream and say, okay, I need this. How's your thought process work?
I'm an old school. It's funny. Somebody said that to me the other day. Like, you wrote a business plan? That's so old school. Of course, it was somebody in their 20s, right? That's probably founded 3 companies already. But no, it was. I literally came home from yet another women's event and just started writing, which then in my brain, because I've written business plans for every business I've run, it's like, just build out what's the market look like? Who's my ultimate consumer, right? And it was me.
Right.
And so it was a fast time to market. I think in March when I wrote the plan, I did it in a week or less. And then I started doing focus groups. Almost organically with friends, with networks, and just kind of asking, would this be something that they would enjoy? Would it be something that they would join? And then I spent time going around the country. And I went to a number of the women's spaces that were already out there.
Okay.
Most of them focused on co-working, but definitely ran into some great spaces. And so that actually helped inform what I thought a space could look like, size. And I did a lot of, market research. And I think in June, I started looking for commercial space. May. And then June found the space. I found a great landlord and we broke ground in a 15,000 square foot space, gutted it in August, and we opened 11,000 of the 15,000 just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I've been there and it looks amazing. I love the internal staircase as well.
Yeah, that was absolutely a requirement. You don't want people to leave, right? And you want to make it easy, and especially for our men, right? When they come in the space, you don't want them to feel like they're excluded. And so welcoming them into the environment and allowing them to, as their member or company, or they're coming for a meeting, bringing them into the space, they can come downstairs where we don't have showers and we don't have a fitness studio. So women still feel safe and secure, but men also feel welcomed.
So how do you balance, there's obviously a place that you want to be at, most of the time.
Yes.
So and we have a health club client out on the West Coast, and he developed a really high-end health club. And I said, what inspired you? He's like, well, this is where I want to hang out. So, and I think other people like to do what I like to do.
Yeah.
So that's a business plan.
Not that I don't look at a bunch of data, but that's not sort of how I wrote the business plan. I looked at what I would like. I spent 3 weeks a month on a plane. It's pretty lonely living in a hotel when you're on the road. Your friends aren't always available in those certain cities. So where do you go? If you're a flexible worker, do you want to just work at home? If you work a full job, but you have a side hustle, where do you want to be? And where can you find a place that's conducive to all that? But at the same time, meeting some spectacular women, right? And you never know where that's going to lead. That could lead to a new business. That could lead to a new job. That hopefully creates a substantial amount of revenue opportunities that we want to bring. Again, putting your money where your mouth is.
Right.
So let's help each other, not just say it.
So how do you balance the commercial pursuits? And I'm sure people say, okay, you've got one location, where's your next 3 going to be, for you to say, you know what, this is what I wanted to build. I'm going to build this company the way and at the pace that I want to build it at. And I'm not going to be pressured by what your Excel spreadsheet says or what some investor says. I want to, quote unquote, stamp 20 of these out. How do you, at this point, you're in your career, you're going to do what you want to do.
Right.
So how do you, I feel like there's this next wave of entrepreneurs that are going to say, you know what, look, I'm not trying to become a public company. I'm not trying to grow at 100% a year. So how do you, given all of your travels, say, look, I'm going to build something of value and I'm going to build the next one when I feel like I want to?
Well, that's one of the main reasons I self-funded.
Okay.
right? 20 plus years in corporate America, all great experience. It led me to be able to do this, particularly banking. But I wanted to build something for me and for the women that I know and the women that I know that need this. And so when the time is right, we'll expand, if and when we expand. I think I really want to create a community that's lasting, that's sustainable. And then as you see that organic community building, you then know when it's time to do the next thing, right? And so whether that's somewhere else in New York, whether that's a completely new city, we're just started, right? We just opened, and I'm getting tons of emails on LinkedIn. Like, are you opening up in here? Are you opening up in this city? Are you opening up in that city? I'm like, whoa. Let us create what we're trying to create. I think sometimes companies go too fast.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because especially if you have investors, but at the end of the day, I'm there to make a profitable business. Absolutely. We're not a nonprofit, but we're there to build something for women where they get tremendous value and keep coming back.
So how do you, as an entrepreneur and as, having a finance background, kind of say, okay, maybe your scorecard, your scorecard might say, how many times did people say, I appreciate you? How many times did people say thank you? How many people say, you've changed my life? Like, how does that become almost like quantitative results?
I love that you asked that, because most people don't. They say, what are your revenue indicators,
exactly.
right?
That's why I'm asking.
And so you have your KPIs, and there's absolutely the revenue side, right? And that's around membership, and that's around events and corporates that we work with. But on the human side, it is that, oh my gosh, I've never had a workspace like this, or I've never been to an event like this, where I felt like I was literally in the same sort of, it was a one-on-one conversation in this event off of 150. And we had that. We had Ruth Zuckerman 2 weeks ago. She's a member. She's the co-founder of Soul Cycle and then Flywheel,
yep.
and now an author. And we had over 100 women. And the way our space is set up is to make it feel like a living room, right? Every space is not felt like there's a corporate table and chairs. We're not about private offices. And so many women after that event was like, I felt like I knew her. I felt like I could walk up to her. And so many did. It wasn't like it was a panel discussion and you never see this woman again. And so we want to create that, not just in an event, every single day. So when you walk in, you know who's in there, right? A little bit like Cheers. Everybody knows your name, but there's smiling, there's a welcoming feeling. And I think for me, the last couple of weeks, every time I hear a comment, I really want to press record.
Right.
Because that's who we are and what we're building. But for me, if I continue to see that every day, forget the revenue side, I am doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, I think, when people look at their net promoter scores, they forget a lot of the times that actually is indicative that you are making money.
Right.
And you don't necessarily need to look at the dollars and cents, because you've already the customer is already, or the member has already acknowledged that they are willing to pay you or pay you more for what you've delivered.
We've actually had, again, we've been open for a few weeks. We've actually had some of our members, because we have a flexible membership. It's not, we're not locking you into one or annually. We are very flexible. We've had a number of them who spent 1 week, literally 1 week, and say, I'm upgrading because I realize I want to be in this space. And for me, again, that's your revenue model. That's these people that come in and say, I want to be here, whether it's every day or coming in from LA and they can take a day pass or participate in a frequent flyer program, which we've launched. So that's the real, for me, KPIs. And listen, it's scary. I've self-funded, right? And people keep going, oh, well, you must have this big safety net. I'm like, I put everything into this, right? Because I believe in it. But every night I look at my bank account and go, okay, how are we going to balance this? But still, at the end of the day, whether it's a huge success and I expand everywhere, I'm doing what I think this world needs. We have too much divisiveness and everyone feeling excluded. We need to kind of bring that back and be unified, and especially women, because we get pitted against each other pretty easily, and we need to kind of stop doing that.
So just for a minute, talk about what the amenities are that are there now and that you find that's convenient for you and convenient for your members, so they don't have to necessarily jump around the city with their yoga mat and their bag and sweaty and, doing their hair or wearing a baseball cap or,
which is okay too. No.
Yeah. Well, that's how I run around.
It's okay. So outside of the real communal workspace that we have a ton of conference room and meeting room space, right? So, which is at a premium, most even in your corporate America, because rooms get booked. We have free wine on tap. We have free coffee from Stumptown. We have an amazing selection of food from different women vendors that we work with. And then as we look at wellness, which again, you can invest in your brain, but you also have to invest in your body. So we have this fitness studio where we're working with multiple vendors, partners, Extend, which is amazing. They do our bar and hit and circuit. We're working with fitness influencers like Amanda Klutz and Holly Reilinger and looking at how many more can we bring on. We don't need to do that ourselves, right? We want to bring in the experts. Our beauty bar is partnered with Glam & Go, and so you can get a blowout, right? I don't know many women that don't love a good blowout. We're running around, and if you take a workout or you're running from meeting to meeting or you have an event, blowout's great. And then we've got everything from the product side that a woman would need, in addition to, again, all of the co-working space that we provide.
So what's the pricing model look like? And, for an entry, and then after a week, how much is it for me to upgrade?
So we have 3 memberships. They're $200 a month, $300 a month, $400 a month. Again, your average co-working space really starts at $400 a month. So this, in addition to the programming, we feel is a value. It all depends on usage, right? So our lower end, the 200, is a side hustle, right? It's for those people that have a full time or live outside, or whatever their situation is. They only need a core couple of hours a day, and then we do a flex, which is much more flexible on how many days they want to use a month. And then our collective is, I want to be there as much as I really want, as much as I can be, and then all of that includes our programming. So this is not, I'm bringing you in and now you have to pay for events and you have to pay for programming and coaching and things like that. That's all part of the package. All of those can be paid monthly. And if you sign up annually, you get a discount of 10%. Any veteran, nonprofit, or teacher gets an immediate 20% discount on any of those memberships. And we have a scholarship program called an Illumination Grant. So for every 10 annual memberships that are purchased, we give away one to a woman in need that's either self-nominated or member-nominated.
Great. And how did you come up with the name Luminary, and how did that stick?
So I had hundreds of names, and randomly or ironically, I got a LinkedIn from a gentleman that I didn't know, but he knew me from one of the banks that I had worked for. And he said in an email, which I love in LinkedIn, like using context, right? Not just asking me to be your friend or whatever. He said, Cate, you don't know me, but I worked with you at JP Morgan, and I loved hearing you and seeing you speak. You are such a luminary.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as I read it, I get on Google. I'm like, Luminary. Oh my God, that's and that was it. And I actually have emailed him back and said, just so you know, I've started this company, and you're the reason why it's called Luminary. And again,
a great name.
I think it's a great name.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't taken. Actually,
well,
right?
There are so many iterations of Luminary, right? And there are a lot of them are different industries. But as this kind of space for women and empowering women and providing all of this, it didn't exist, and so we're really excited about it.
Well, congrats on what you've built. It's only a couple weeks in, so we look forward to tracking your progress and hopefully bringing more Halo ideas and programming to Luminary.
We'd absolutely love it.
Excellent. Well, congrats.
Thanks, Pete.
You got it.